Councilwoman Cosby.
I'm going to talk as fast as I possibly can. I wanted to thank everyone who participated in the 4th Annual All Cancer Awareness Walk. In September, we had a great turnout and raised funds that were donated to the Linden Lions to be given specifically to a youth cancer survivor. $700 in total was donated. I'd like to give a special thanks to the Braun family, who were big supporters this year, walking in honor of the late police captain Eugene Braun. From the Housing Authority, there is a public meeting on tomorrow for anyone interested in attending, and I can report that they have recently paved the parking lots over there in the past month. There is an opening for commissioner, well, there will be an opening for commissioner in the Linden Housing Authority, and anyone interested should send a volunteer service form and contact the clerk's office or print the form out from the city website. In the 5th Ward, ordinances were adopted just now that will significantly change the traffic pattern and parking in District 4. That's Chandler Avenue, Union Street, and East Baltimore. So please note the new signs, parking restrictions, and traffic patterns that will be posted in the coming weeks. We requested a light installation on Bernard Avenue that was installed, and we're still waiting for Mildred Avenue light to be installed. There was a traffic operation through the police department in the area of 1600 East St. George's Avenue, where I initiated last year a request along with the Borough of Roselle to have a push to stop light installed. The police are going to forward that data to the state DOT in an effort to expedite the request and firm up our assertion that there is a need for a light at this location. This Thursday is the 5th Ward's regularly scheduled community meeting. It'll be at 1025 John Street from 6:30 until 8 o'clock. We're going to celebrate Hispanic heritage as we have for the past 6 years. This year, we're celebrating a very humble, unsung hero, Mrs. Janet Bo Sierra. The Board of Elections will have the new voting machine there, and you're welcome to come touch and feel it. We're going to use that November the 5th. I've also invited the candidates, all of them, for the November 5th Board of Education election. It's not a forum, just giving them an opportunity to be seen and introduce themselves to the constituents. Save the date. Oh wait, reminder, the polling location for all 5th Ward residents is located at school number 4, and the entrance is in the rear. You have to enter on Mildred Avenue. Save the date for November the 10th from 12 to 3 p.m. The Linden Board of Health and the Linden Lions, along with St. John the Baptist Church, the Episcopal Church, will have a free adult health screening that will include free eye examinations and prescriptions for anyone who needs one, hearing screening, hypertension screening, and flu shots. The event is being held at the church, 2018 DeWitt Terrace, across from McManus Middle School. Later tonight, there's going to be a resolution that will come from the Council Investigative Committee after they conducted the investigation of a former employee. I would really like to move that the City Council take the same level of zeal that was put into this other committee and establish a committee to continue to investigate specific matters in personnel, including theft of time, hiring, promotions, and so on. So anybody here want to make a second on that?
Second. What are we voting on?
We're asking the council to form an investigative committee. This is like since August, and the other committee that retired and is going to provide their report today, let me just say this. They took pain, they had a consultant, and they were very thorough. And all I'm saying is, that is not the only matter that should be investigated. I know that I was absent at the public meeting on September because I was ill, but in September at the caucus, there was still no mention of my request, right? So we want to investigate hiring, theft of time, our policies on promotions, our policies on hiring. There are a number of issues, and they go back a long time. So I made the motion and Councilman Roman seconded. So we're just trying to see in public who on the council is going to support this.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion? Yeah, I mean, is this protocol to do this from our reports to something I think we should discuss this and have an outline in council as to exactly. I'm not saying that it's not a good idea. I just want to know exactly what we are looking for, who we're going to be looking at. This is just a little bit general right now. What are we going to just like investigate everybody? but like, let's come up with some concrete names, who we think offenders are, what's involved, and let's build it. Yeah.
Mr. Antonelli, can we have a?
Sure.
Council President.
Obviously, the preferred method is to provide resolutions in writing and ordinances to council in advance of tonight's meeting. On occasion, the deadline that's put out by the city clerk's office is missed, at which time the council president, in her discretion, allows those items to be added to the agenda, or it's decided by the council as a whole. To the extent that the councilwoman has made a motion before this body, I don't think it's proper at this point in time. I think the proper motion would be a motion to add the resolution to the agenda, and then obviously if that passes, then perhaps the motion could be then voted on separately. But, that there's no resolution that's in writing before this council, and I would think that, before this body were to allow that resolution, it would first have to decide whether or not it wants to add it to the agenda at this point in time.
I have a comment for discussion, if I may. So, even though the attorney told you all of that in like all those words, that's not true, because we make resolutions all the time, and when we request lights to be installed, that's considered a resolution, and it's one sentence that is read by the member of the council who sits as the chair on the Construction Code and Lighting Committee. And to the councilwoman's point, I gave specific information in August. I talked about it again, and no one is, like listening. I'm desperate, so I'm bringing it to the public. I don't know if anybody heard the podcast or whatever like that, but I am afraid to name names in public because of the behaviors of some of the employees that may be involved in a lot of this. So the council president has the ability to create a committee, an ad hoc committee. And when Councilman Brown requested a committee to investigate one specific employee, there was no hesitation, there was no pushback, because there was an issue that was identified. I've identified a number of issues, and I said to the council before, people were hired in Linden and their applications were dated 23 days later. If just that needs to be investigated.
Council President.
Yes, Councilman Brown?
Yes. So a couple of things. We do vote on resolutions off the floor, but when it comes to resolutions like this, you need a list in there, who's going to be on the investigation committee, the scope of the investigation committee, what it's about. So we don't have really anything tangible to vote on. Just saying we're going to do investigation committee in this, with that magnitude, again, that's something that we've never done. It has to be written down, again, who's going to be on it and the scope of the committee. Every time we've done one, that's been the scope. It's been written down. We had a 2-hour meeting before. This wasn't discussed. And at the same time, we have a personnel committee, which I voice when it has come up, that they've done a good job with our personnel. We've separated personnel and finance, and the personnel committee has been addressing issue after issue, things that have been lingering for years. And so my faith has been in the personnel committee, that for the last couple of years, when a council person or employee brings up an issue, it gets addressed there. I think it's been successful so far, and I think we should continue that process. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, Councilwoman?
So to Councilman Brown's point, I sat on the personnel committee for 4 years before the majority of council refused to allow me to sit, okay? When I was on the personnel committee, the things I brought up were told to the employees, and then the employees started to Oprah my job. They were sending complaints. There's an open complaint right now because I looked at an employee and they didn't like how I looked at them. Like, this is not like a joke, right? We have to be serious about what we're doing. So employees are being hired without proper education. You have employees who are out sick and there's never an FMLA submitted for them, right? Who should be on the committee? The committee should consist of folks who are objective and who have not sat on the committee in the past 2 years. How about that? Because things that come to the committee get pushed under the rug. I can't speak specifically, but I'll tell you one thing. The chairman of the committee this evening in our 2.5-hour workshop didn't even know about an item that was on the agenda, which we ultimately removed because it was, in my opinion, not part of how we do business, right? So I asked to be on the Personnel Committee this year, and 6 council members put their hand up that I shouldn't sit, right? Period. There's an issue. I'm begging you, Councilwoman Yamakaitis, form the committee, and the scope can be, in general, I don't want to name names in public again.
Councilwoman, could you prepare a resolution for next month and we could vote on it then? Let's go through the proper channels for. According to our
Council
attorney, it's the
President.
proper protocol, which we have a resolution that's walking on tonight. So
I would-
I ask that you please,
I would
Talk
take
to
this
the-
resolution, because he said if you would allow us to read the resolution in tonight. So just my
the council members have
synopsis.
not received even a written copy of it. We
It's-
have
it's
one
just-
that's going on the floor, so they
Council
should
President.
be given the courtesy of being able to read it and comprehend it.
I get it, but going forward, if there's anything off the floor,
Going forward, council should be given the opportunity to have the actual paper copy in front of them before they vote on it. You said that in caucus yourself. Councilman Brown, you had your hand up?
Yes. I just want to clarify something. And we can go back to the tapes, we can go back to YouTube, we can go back to documentations. The reason why Councilman Cosby is not on the personnel, and I'm going to speak for me, my vote, is because, and this can all be Oprah'd, just like I'm being Oprah'd for a bunch of stuff, and I don't encourage it, but because of the number of tort claims and other claims that are being laid upon the councilwoman for the way that she was behaving towards employees, following them, police reports, and some of us felt that this was an issue that was going to be a liability to taxpayers, because employees do have rights as far as how they're being treated, as far as what's being said, even up on the dais when we attack employees. And I keep saying, this is a liability issue. In the municipal budget that we pass every year, there's a line item there, insurance, that deals with tort claims and liabilities. That was one of the reasons I could speak to why I did not support it, because after years of being on the committee and seeing all these complaints and explaining to the councilwoman, it's all a matter of how you present it, how you talk about it. And this is the only person on this dais that has outstanding, like she said, claims against her. So how can I, am I right, and me, continue to support something that's going to cost taxpayers a liability issue? I can only speak for me. What happens next year is up to the council. But we need to put all the facts out there, because we want to nitpick on what.
Excuse me, let's
See,
keep order in the council
Because
chambers,
we
please.
want to, and I'm going to leave it at this. There's 42,000 residents in the city of Linden, and the people who are in here who want to bash us and who don't want to believe the truth, it's all documented. We could do the Oprah request. I see the people do the Oprah request. And when it becomes an insurance liability issue, and we show that we're saving money and 2 tax rate decreases and all this other stuff that is beneficial moving forward, it's called proof in the pudding. So, end of comment.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Roman?
Thank you, Council President. In regards to what the councilwoman said and not everything else that was said, in regards to this specifically, this has been discussed thoroughly by council. They're kind of picking and choosing here. You know, they want to investigate this and have 2 municipal investigation committees on these 2 things, but then they don't want to investigate the things that are blaring you right in the face on personnel issues. You know, you can't talk about names. That's not how that's not how personnel issues work. You don't even need to legally put down who's going to be on the committee, because the council president does that after. And no municipal investigative committee that we've passed in the last year, 2 of them, has said who was going to be on the committee on the resolution. So that was wrong. All the councilwoman asked was to ask for a show of support on this, and this is something we have spoken about before. She had brought up great points, with issues with all kinds of things. This isn't my forte, but I would like to learn more about it, and I would be interested in whatever the truth and justice is. If you come to work for the city of Linden, show up. You know, don't steal from my parents, and don't steal from the rest of you. It's really that simple. Or whatever the reason may be, or whoever's getting hired without putting an application in, or whatever it may be. It's really just good, you know, good, bad. Like, it's one side or the other. It's not, there's a clear line here. The scope of the resolution can be engineered later. I just simply ask now, so we can get beyond this, that the council president ask him, the law department, Councilor Antonelli, to draft a resolution about, so that we can start to investigate these issues that as the councilwoman's point, are pressing matters and really, really matter to you guys out there in the city of Linden. Thank you, Council President, for allowing me.
Councilman Roman, 2 items of correction. Okay, with special committees, the council president does appoint the members. That's not up to
That's what I
debate.
said.
No, you didn't. You said correction, as well as far as the past 2 municipal investigative committees, they were specific in what we were investigating. It wasn't just an open-ended investigation. So, once again, I asked the councilwoman to please have the law department draft up a resolution so the council can view it, as well as be specific on what we're investigating.
That's only
So-
request.
Mr. Antonelli?
Thank you, Council President. First off, the 2 investigation committees that were formed recently was by way of a written resolution. It's very specific with regard to the statutory grant that allows this body to form an investigatory committee. The statute 40:48-25 requires this body to put a proper scope of the investigation, and it's limited to that scope, as well as the resolution also requires that the members of the committee be in fact named. So it is a council decision. It's not the council president determines who is on the committee. But these investigatory committees should be formed by a written resolution. I'd be happy to speak with the councilwoman. Obviously, after today, I will prepare a resolution consistent with her wishes to be discussed at the next council meeting.
Councilwoman, are you good with that?
Well, I'm afraid, because like Councilman Brown said, there are tort complaints. A tort complaint is anybody can go to the city clerk and write a complaint, right? So if I looked at an employee funny, there's a tort complaint. If I complained about an employee coming to work late with their kids, there's a tort complaint. So all that is true, and you can actually read about it in my book, Plantation Politics, in December. But it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it right. You see what I'm saying? So I'm afraid that if I give you the specifics, then they're going to go back and fix it before we can get to the real investigation. And I'm also afraid that you're going to put the same people who may have a relative or a close friend or someone, on that committee that won't be objective. And so to the point of objectivity, there was a consultant hired for the most recent one, the last one, and it was like to the letter. Everything was, T's crossed, I's dotted, all of that. And I mean, I have the knowledge, especially, human resource knowledge, to actually look at the laws and the policies. Having sat on the committee and watched some of my stuff, we sat on the committee together and we did good things, right? Now, what are we doing? I'm afraid. So, I mean, I'll do whatever you say I need to do, but I'm afraid that it's still going to get voted down at the end of the day. And the ultimate, what's going to have to happen.
Councilwoman, if you present something, I will guarantee you that you will get the same thing that we did hire somebody, if need be, to do the investigation.
All right, well, I
Okay?
appreciate the consideration.
Councilwoman Hickey?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I wasn't going to go here. I was hoping all of this would just wash out tonight. But I want to let you all know, the public and everyone watching, because a lot more people do watch this than you think they do. One, there are certain individuals up here that are the best manipulators and speakers that I've ever met in my life. And it's pretty unbelievable. I always believe people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Or as one of the other one that always makes me laugh and says, or should, people in glass houses shouldn't walk naked. It's really funny that we have people on investigative committees that should be investigated themselves. And I'm not mentioning any names, Council President, I'm being respectful. But quite honestly, I always say I'm a tough woman, but the past couple months have been pretty tough. Last month, I didn't come to the council meeting because I was in fear for myself, my family, and being treated horrendously. The month before, after a caucus meeting and being followed out by a councilman, I had to go to police headquarters because I was always able to put up with all the bullying tactics you know, the person who's up here that talks, that says he never criticizes everybody else for it.
Councilwoman, we're talking about a
Right, I
possible-
understand. This has
Let's
to
stick
do
to
with
the
the
resolution at
committee.
council.
This has to do with the committee. So now we're handing a paper a couple hours ago regarding a committee that they want to form against the next employee. And I understand that there's a problem or there's an issue, but when their problem on this council is with the person who has the issues and is running the committee and is in charge of the committee, then we have a problem. Because you know what? This woman was sitting in police headquarters, and now there's been a YouTube video released at one of my weakest moments because of the tactics that I have to deal with. So you want to know what needs to be investigated? Certain council members up here, and I just truly wish he would let this council move forward, and he would just resign immediately. I can't sit up here anymore and watch the committee member run in the back of the room, run behind the doors, come sit up here, come stand behind me all the time. So when Linden gets serious and this council gets serious, let's form an investigative committee about true, honest people. Councilman Cosby, she said all the right words here tonight. Because you know what? People were judging her up here who've had their own investigations against them, and nothing ever happens. They've had employees who filed complaints about them, and they coincidentally, whether it's sexual harassment or anything else, all of a sudden, they're found that they have no problems with it. So you know what? I'm taking one for the team and for the people, because enough is enough, Councilman Brown. It's time to go.
Councilman Cosby.
Councilman, please, we're not having
Okay,
this
no,
back
all
and
right,
forth.
no, I know.
Councilman, don't even go there.
No, I have to.
That concludes
No,
my
no.
report, Council President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council
And
President.
so I'm just going to say this.
Councilman, you'll have an
Thank you.
opportunity
No, no.
later in the evening.
Give me
Thank
20
you.
seconds, please.
You'll have a minute later
Okay.
on, in the end of the
Thank you.
meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. And we will please have that prepared for next month, so the council can review in caucus. Thank you.